Follow the whispers of the void, but beware, my dear friends, for when the stars turn black and the shadows fall long, we may find ourselves lamenting. Carcosa.
Welcome to Lamenting Carcosa. First of all, I would like to apologize if my voice is sounding awful. I have been under the weather for past couple of weeks and I'm recovering, so I hope you all understand. Today's story takes us back to the 1940s, somewhere in a country formerly known as Burma. I was shared this story by a man I met many years ago when I was visiting the country. And he told me that he was indirectly involved in this particular incident when he was very, very young. Remember, my viewers, I don't write these down. I just tell them how they were told to me. These stories came from those who swear they lived them. Of course, what you believe is up to you, but discretion is advised. Now to the story. It all started with this one young girl named May. Obviously, that wasn't her name. She was very pretty. In fact, she was the prettiest in the neighborhood at the time. She was very charming and she was very popular. And when she turned 17, all the boys in the neighborhood and their parents flocked to her house, to her parents, to ask if their son could marry her. Most of these boys, they were from good families. But of course, nice wouldn't cut it for May's father. In his eyes, his daughter worth much, much more than whatever those boys in the neighborhood has been offering to him. He wanted his daughter to marry a very nice, a very rich man from a very good family background, just because he thought his daughter could. But here's the problem. May's father was a very, very arrogant and very mean. He wouldn't just tell these boys and their families that he do not accept their marriage proposal to his daughter. He would berate them, he would talk down, and he would use very, very hurtful words, reminding them that they do not even deserve to say his daughter's name. This went on for quite a bit, and at one point people stopped showing up to his house. He enjoyed the peace for quite some time. In fact, he was quite proud of what he did, what he said to those boys and their families. According to his words, he claimed he was able to put them in their place, and he was doing his best for his one and only daughter. But of course he didn't know what was about to happen next. One evening, May returned home from visiting a friend. All of a sudden she started to complain that she wasn't feeling very good. And a few days later she was bedridden. Physicians were called, but none of them could identify what was wrong with her. Of course, people were worried, but everyone just thought she would just recover in time. And they just let her be. You see, a couple of weeks later, she started to show some very unusual symptoms. During the daytime, she would always stay in bed. She would complain that her muscle aches, and she would ask people to come near her and give her a light massage. And when people approach her, and these people will start to feel very dizzy, and they would complain that they don't feel very good. She also hated the sun, and whenever her parents did their prayer in the house, she would get very aggravated, and she would start yelling at them, and she will complain that the sound annoyed her. At night, now this is where it gets very interesting. Not only she was able to leave the bed, she would get very, very hungry. She would physically go to the kitchen from a person who couldn't even stand up during the daytime. And she would eat everything that was in the pots. And she would demand her parents for more food. Of course, at the beginning, her parents were very happy because they thought she was recovering. You see, a young girl who was sick until recently started to crave food. Now, that's normally considered a good sign. But of course, things get very, very suspicious as time passes. Every day, she will have the same pattern. She will be lethargic, she'll be very sickly, and she wouldn't be able to move at all during the daytime. But as soon as the sun goes down, she would become ravenous. She would go to the kitchen, she would eat anything and everything, and she would get very, very angry if her parents were not able to meet her demand with food when she demanded them. Before long, the rumors started spreading, and the peculiar and suspicious behavior of this young May became the talk of the town. Her parents did their best to try to suppress it, but secrets never stay. After many weeks of the same thing over and over, the parents got really concerned. You see, people in those days, they were quite superstitious. In fact, people are still superstitious to these days. They did what thought was the most sensible, so they went to consult with some spiritual experts. In this particular story, the person they went to was a witch doctor, and the doctor told them that, yeah, something was wrong with their daughter. He visited their house, and he didn't do much. He just looked at the situations, and he asked the girl a couple of questions. And then he stayed until evening, and then he left. The following days, May's father received a letter from the witch doctor. He wrote that he did not say anything and he left the night before due to there being too many eyes and ears. Then he confessed that they might be dealing with a case of possession. Are you enjoying the story? If so, please spend a few seconds to like and comment what you think about this story. And if you do not want to miss the next time I bring another unusual tales from another unusual place, please subscribe to the channel. And with much gratitude, I shall continue the story. The fateful day arrived, and the witch doctor was preparing for the ritual. But before he could start the exorcism, he needs two major components to help with the protection. Since the household was a Muslim household, one, he requires a Muslim religious figure to sanctify and purify the house in order for him to do his ritual. Secondly, he believed that little kids tends to have some sort of guardian angels looking over them. And having a child's presence in the ritual will most likely strengthen the protection barrier when the ritual is performing. The old man who recounted this story to me was the child that they chose to be on the site of the ritual. A local Hafiz, a Muslim religious leader of the area, volunteered to come and purify the site. And as soon as the purification was completed, the exorcism began. It went on for a couple of hours. The witch doctor sat in front of a bowl of water and he chanted in some unknown language. Once the chanting was completed, the witch doctor wrote down 9 descriptions of 9 different individuals, and he asked the parents and the people that were present at the ritual to read through them and see if any of the people they knew matched the descriptions. They all knew the people, and by the authority of the local leader, they were able to bring these people to the site. Without any resistance, the 5 men and the 4 women that were brought in confessed that they cursed her using some black magic with the help of a sorcerer that lived a few towns away. Despite their actions, none of these men and women felt any remorse. To them, the words spoken by May's father and the actions committed by May's family was so hurtful and so degrading that they all believe genuinely that May was getting exactly what she deserved. More importantly, they did not want to inflict such affliction to May, but rather to her father. And that was exactly what they did. The local elder then dismissed these men and women and warned them that they will be dealt with once everything is over. And so the ritual continued. The witch doctor wanted to know what kind of curse was done upon her. And before long, he identified that those people had invited an evil spirit to come and use May's body as a vessel, and they were successful at doing that. In fact, they were a little too successful that not only they welcomed an evil spirit, they had welcomed 7 different evil entities into her body. And as soon as the witch doctor realized what was going on, he was saddened by how cruel a human could be to another human. And of course, he didn't only mean those 9 people. He also meant the father of the girl. And how spiteful and how painful of a word that he must have said that invokes such evil, such cruelty in those people that they could just justify this vile and abominable act that they just committed. But alas, such is the human nature. By then, the evil entity inside May's body realized that their jig was up, and in the final attempt to gain some sort of satisfaction out of their vile deeds, they decided to taunt the parents. The girl started speaking to her father, who was sitting a few meters away. She was speaking in a very strange voice, as if multiple voices are coming out of her throat. She told her father that it was too late. May has been long dead, and the only thing that was keeping her body alive were the 7 entities. They then offer May's father a deal so wicked. The evil then try to bargain with the father, telling him that if he let them stay in May's body, they will do their best to pretend that they are his daughter. All he had to do is to let them, and occasionally feed her fresh blood. The offer was so vile, so cruel, so twisted, that even the evil inside of May's body couldn't help but laughed uncontrollably. They laughed, and they revel, they savor every single moment of the father's suffering. They relished in the pain and the torture that they inflicted the man. And that went on for quite a good time. And all the man could do was overwhelmed by guilt and shame. The witch doctor looked at the father, and he warned him to not even for a moment consider the deal that these evil entities were offering. The man knew well enough, and he told the witch doctor to do what must be done. And with that, everyone was asked to leave the room. About an hour later, the witch doctor opened the door and let everyone in. And all that remained on the bed was a badly decomposing, maggot-ridden corpse of a young girl.